Good evening. Let us be still. Let there be a hush within that is not forced, not mechanical, but a quiet consent that this hour is sacred, not because of a building, not because of a teacher, but because the Spirit that moved upon the face of the waters moves here, now, in the temple which is your very consciousness. Close the door of the senses for a moment. Lay aside the catalog of the day. Breathe as if the universe were resting in you. Be still and know that I am God. We are not here to inform God of our needs, to shout over the wind, to be heard by heaven. We are here to be very still and to know the purpose of our work tonight is plain, and I would repeat it until it writes itself upon the inward parts of your being, the development of spiritual consciousness. That is all. Not the development of a new set of affirmations, not the collecting of spiritual souvenirs, the development of spiritual consciousness. And what is spiritual consciousness? It is the ability to see that which is invisible, to hear that which is inaudible, to touch that which cannot be felt, to know that which cannot be known by human reason or the senses. It is to look upon a scene where the five senses report lack, danger, sickness, and to behold, behind the mask of appearances, reality whole, complete, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God revealed. We are not here, then, to manufacture results. Oh, no. We are not here to take thought, to strain, to outline. We are here to consent that the invisible be seen, that the inaudible be heard, that the unfeelable be felt. And this occurs not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. It is written, I can of mine own self do nothing, and again, the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. If the Master could say that, what shall we say? The same. We will say it until the personal I that would fix, help, control, and dominate is quieted. We will say it until we can feel, not merely recite, that within us is a presence, a wisdom, an activity that goes before us to make the crooked places straight. Tonight I would make you a promise and at the same time relieve you of a burden. You can begin healing work tonight, not because you have memorized a formula, not because you have joined a movement, but because the kingdom of God is within you. Healing does not occur because of your personal brilliance, your fervency of speech, or your power to concentrate. Healing, harmony, right action, unfoldment, these are the effects of spiritual consciousness. And spiritual consciousness begins like a mustard seed. When you turn within, acknowledge the presence, listen in silence, and release all outcome into the Father's keeping. It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. We need not manipulate flesh, nor fight shadows. We need only behold the light. Let us then place ourselves rightly at the outset. There is no personal healer on this platform or in these chairs. The one teacher is within, and the one healer is the Father. The Master said, call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. And again, if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. If I do not step aside, if I do not surrender the personal sense of I, the Comforter, the inner counselor and doer, cannot be heard. So we begin by going away from ourselves, not to abandon life, but to make room for life to announce itself. Will you consent to this? Will you agree to learn by practice rather than by belief alone? Hearing these words does not constitute demonstrating them. Reading about spirit does not make you spiritual. But turning tonight in your own room, without witness or fanfare, and sitting still long enough to acknowledge, to listen, to release, this constitutes the beginning of demonstration. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord. We are not being asked to entertain a creed. We are being invited to taste and see that the Lord is good. to verify within our own awareness that when we are quiet and receptive, something not of our planning begins to operate. Therefore, for a few moments more, let every thought that seeks to bargain with God fall like dry leaves. We do not come with our lists, we come as we are, saying only, "Here am I, Lord." If there is pain in the body, we will not argue with it. If there is fear in the heart, we will not suppress it. We will lay it open before the one who seeth in secret and rewardeth openly. The reward is not the trinket we ask. The reward is himself, his presence felt, his peace imparted, his activity moving where our effort failed. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Not as the world gives note, that so we will not look to the outer for the inner's confirmation. We will look to the inner until the outer conforms. Now, just where you are, let your breath become the bell that calls you inward. On the in-breath, acknowledge silently, God is. On the out-breath, rest in, I am in God. God is. I am in God. I and my Father are one. Not two, not near. One. One life, one mind, one soul. Do not try to feel these words. Let them sink like a stone in a deep well. Let the water receive them. We are not driving, we are yielding. And as we yield, let us accept the dignity of our calling. From this night forward, we shall measure our progress not by the number of thoughts we think about God, but by the intervals in which we rest in God without thought. We shall measure not by the cleverness of our prayers, but by the quietness with which we consent to be lived. If the senses are still loud, we will be patient. If the mind fidgets, we will be kind. We will return again and again, because the purpose of our work tonight is not to collect experiences, but to cultivate capacity. The capacity to see the unseen, hear the unheard, know the unknowable, and thereby to behold in the midst of every appearance the reality that heals, provides, illumines, and governs. So we begin. We begin in silence, in humility, in certainty that your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. We begin with the ancient prayer renewed within us. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. And we add no outline to that will. We add no timetable to that kingdom. We consent. And in consenting, we have already taken the first step into the healing life, for where consent to the inner is, the Father within doeth the works. Tonight we begin. What then does this spiritual consciousness perceive when the eyes and ears of flesh report danger, emptiness, or delay? It beholds presence where absence is proclaimed, wholeness where fragments seem, sufficiency where lack appears, peace within the howl of the wind. It is that inner faculty by which you and I can judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. It is not a poetic imagination. It is not a stronger will set against circumstance. It is the quiet knowing of what is, irrespective of what's seen. The kingdom of God is within you. Therefore, the reality to be perceived is not out there, gathered with nets and stored in barns. It is here, within, revealed to that consciousness which will be still enough to know. How did the Master feed the multitudes with a few loaves and fishes? Did he send runners to the neighboring villages to buy bread? Oh no. He looked up to heaven and blessed and brake, and before his gaze of recognition, the principle of sufficiency, present though uncounted, became evident until all were filled and 12 baskets remained. The outer multiplication followed the inner beholding. He did not manufacture food. He beheld food, the divine law of provision already at hand, though concealed by arithmetic. How did he still the storm? Not by arguing with wind or waves, not by examining cloud formations and speaking to the barometer. He arose and said, "Peace, be still." Because he had already perceived peace where sense reported tumult, he had rested in the fact that omnipresence leaves no corner for chaos. How did he call Lazarus from the tomb? Not by straining belief against stone and odor, but by lifting his eyes. "Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I knew that thou hearest me always." He acknowledged the already operative presence, and then he witnessed life where death had been proclaimed. These are not museum pieces for reverent staring. They are windows into the function of spiritual consciousness. The Master did not walk about with a bag of tricks. He walked in awareness. It is written, "I can of mine own self do nothing," and again, "The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works." Therefore, spiritual perception is not a technique you perform. It is a recognition you allow. When you and I turn within and are still, we are not summoning God to come and alter conditions. We are consenting to see God as the only condition, the one law, the one life, the one substance that is already the fact behind every face of lack or fear. It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. Flesh, the forms, the verdicts, the deadlines, profit nothing. Spirit quickens, Spirit reveals. And so today, when an employer's email announces a cutback, or a child's cough stirs dread, or a ledger speaks red ink, what shall we do? Run for a louder voice than the problem? Telephone every friend to borrow their certainty? Oh no. We answer by turning within at once to acknowledge what is. Not words hurled at the trouble, not incantations recited like charms, not affirmations pounded against the door of fear. We take our place as a beholder. Be still and know that I am God. That is our operating instruction. Be still, not passive, but poised. Know, not believe desperately, but recognize calmly. I am God, not a power contending with other powers, but the one presence in which no rival stands. You will notice as we practice this that something in you relaxes its grasp on outcomes. Spiritual consciousness does not bargain with reality. It beholds reality and watches the bargaining mind fall silent. This is why results in the sense of effects in time come into view with such grace when they come and seem to hide when we chase them. We do not make harmony, we witness harmony. We do not create health, we behold life. We do not impose order on chaos, we awaken to the presence before which chaos has no law to sustain it. There is a vast difference between manipulating appearances and beholding the truth that dissolves them. One is strain, the other is rest. One is fear dressed in piety. The other is trust clothed in silence. Let us be plain. Spiritual consciousness sees that which is invisible to the senses, hears that which is inaudible to anxious thought, touches that which cannot be felt by nervous fingers. How did Jesus restore sight to the blind? By the capacity to see sight where the eyes reported darkness. How did he cleanse the leper? By beholding purity where skin testified otherwise. How did he walk through the midst of those who would have cast him down from the brow of the hill? By dwelling in the fact that where the Spirit of the Lord is and the Spirit is omnipresent, there is liberty. He lived from the center out, not from the circumference in. Now bring this home. The phone rings. Come quickly. Something is wrong. You will learn later our protocol: never refuse a call. But even now, know this: your first and only resource is presence. You do not rush with a bag of words. You do not announce to yourself, "I must fix this." You turn within and acknowledge, "Father, thou art here." You listen without trying to hear a sentence. You release the trilogy of fear questions, what, how, when, into the silent. And as you abide a moment, you will feel a change of atmosphere within, a weight leaving, a light coming, and you will know that the inner government has already taken upon its shoulder the thing that frightened you. Outwardly, you may still need to drive, to speak, to act, but you act now as a witness to an answer underway, not as a stranger knocking at a closed door. When Moses stood before the sea, he was told, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." That is the ancient rhythm. Be still and see. Do not invent a salvation. See the salvation that is. Do not force the waters to part. Behold the law by which they yield to the path ordained from the beginning. This is not self-hypnosis. It is the end of hypnosis, the hypnosis of appearances that parade as fact. To wake from that trance is to become simple again, childlike but not childish, able to see with the heart what the eyes could not dare to report. We will not make a fetish of silence, as if being quiet were a virtue in itself. Silence, for us, is functional. It is the atmosphere in which knowing replaces thinking, in which gratitude replaces pleading, in which God, already God, is permitted to be God in our awareness. Then the forms of life rearrange themselves to mirror what has always been the truth. Thy word is truth. When that word stirs, uttered not by lips, but by the inner utterance of spirit, you find that fear loosens, supply appears where needed, the body rests in a law of equilibrium, and relationships straighten as if a crooked picture had been set right on the wall. So take this with you into the very next breath. Spiritual consciousness does not manufacture results. It beholds the ever-present reality the senses overlook. Our practice, therefore, is not cleverness but consent, not noise but knowing, not urgency but reverent immediacy. Be still and know that I am God. Let that be written on the lintel of your thought tonight, so that whenever appearance knocks, you open not with panic, but with presence. And as we proceed, you will discover that this beholding is not an event, but a way of seeing, until, in season, it becomes the natural light by which you walk. Now, having seen what spiritual consciousness beholds, let us face frankly how we have been taught to meet our emergencies. For a long time, there were good reasons to send for help telegrams to a practitioner, a telephone call to a prayer line, a hurried note to a friend whose consciousness seems stronger than ours. Bless all the good that has come through those channels. Do not despise the ladder that brought you to this window. But the day is passing when you can count on sending a telegram and having someone else's prayer break the mesmerism for you on demand. Not because help is wrong, oh no, but because the Spirit is pressing us into maturity. The Comforter is to be awakened in you, not hired from a distance. If I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. If I do not step out of the center of your reliance, the one who indwells you cannot take his rightful place in your awareness. Here is the risk I must name as your friend. A constant dependence upon another's spiritual light is, in practice, a denial of the Christ within your own being. As long as you depend on my consciousness, you will not develop your own. As long as your first motion is outward, quick, get someone to know the truth for me, you postpone the hour of your birth into inner authority. Scripture does not say, Christ in your practitioner, the hope of glory. It says, Christ in you, the hope of glory. And again, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. The mandate is not to borrow a mind occasionally, but to awaken to the mind that is yours by oneness. Do not misunderstand. We are not discarding the love and ministry of one another. We are placing it in its right order. The Master sent the disciples forth, 2 by 2. There is community in this way. But even as we love and help each other, each one must come to the secret place of the Most High in his own breast. When a storm rises, no practitioner is as near as the presence already within your next breath. Who will be with you at midnight? The Father that dwelleth in you. Who will stand with you in a crowded office or an empty house? The Comforter, the Spirit of truth, which shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance. It is time to stop running to the circumference and begin living from the center. Therefore, I give you now our courageous rule: never refuse a call. By this I do not mean run to every drama with words and busyness. I mean that from this night, every call becomes a summons to turn within instantly. If a neighbor cries out, if a child whimpers, if a headline shouts, you do not wait to be eloquent. You move at once in the silence. Acknowledge, Father, thou art here. Listen, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Release into thy hands, I commit this appearance, this fear, this body, this circumstance. In those moments, whether or not you speak aloud, whether or not you place a hand or write a note, you have answered the call at its root. You have allowed the government to be upon his shoulder. You have refused panic, and you have chosen presence. And let us marry this to practical integrity. Spiritual work is never a substitute for common sense. It is the light in which common sense becomes uncommon wisdom. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Make the phone call that must be made. Drive to the place you must go. Confer with those whose professional service is skillful and kind. But render unto God the things that are God's. Keep your mind stayed, your heart poised, your tongue gentle. Outwardly do what responsibility requires. Inwardly abide in the law of spirit. In this way there is no conflict between caring for a body and knowing life, between stewarding money and trusting supply, between seeking counsel and heeding the inner counselor. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. Flesh forms, procedures, steps profit nothing by themselves. Yet under the quickening of spirit they become instruments of order. Now you see what tonight asks of you. We are not raising heroes of bravado. We are inaugurating servants of presence. From this hour we accept responsibility for our own inner practice while we lovingly stand with others. If you do reach to a friend for help, do it from the center. Join me in acknowledging the presence, not do something for me that I cannot do. If someone reaches to you, you will not become their new dependency. You will quietly direct them without preaching to the same withinness where you are turning. Our help to each other will be as lamps lit from one flame, not as beggars trading bowls. This shift will feel like a cross at first to the ego that has loved its rescues and feared its solitude, but it is not a burden, it is freedom. It frees you from schedules of other people's availability, from the fluctuation of their moods, from the roller coaster of did they pray, did it work. It opens to you the constancy of, lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. It brings you out of the noise of many voices into the one voice that breaks not the bruised reed. You will discover by practice and not by theory that the Father within you doeth the works and does them through you for others without strain, without pride, without fatigue. So let us seal this in a simple agreement. When the next call comes, and it will come, perhaps before you sleep, you will not refuse it. You will answer it inwardly at once. If action is required, you will take it with composure. If words are needed, you will let them be given you in that same hour. If silence is the order, you will rest in it and let the inner utterance do what human speech cannot. And when the call is for yourself, pain in your own body, tremor in your own finances, ache in your own heart, you will not betray your principle by running first to the circumference. You will return to the 3 steps we have learned. Acknowledge, listen, release. Then, and only then, you will see what outer steps are rightly yours. This is the faith that is not mere belief but practice. This is the courage that is not noise but obedience. And this is the way a beginner begins healing work tonight. By turning within, no longer outsourcing his life, but consenting that Christ in him be the hope, the law, and the light of glory. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Amen. Now, if we are to answer every call by turning within, let us be very clear who it is that turns and to whom. For if you and I go inward as beggars, hoping for a visiting charity from a far-off throne, our inwardness will be only another form of outwardness. It will be a prayer addressed to separation, and separation bears the fruit of fear. But if we turn as what we are, then the very turning becomes a revelation. Hear it as more than poetry. I and my Father are one, not near, not akin, not in a favorable relationship, one life, one mind, one substance, one law. This is the foundation under our feet when the wind rises or the call comes at midnight. I give you the image that has been my teacher, the wave and the ocean. The wave is not something apart, employing a private reservoir to perform a swell, hoping to borrow a little more power for a larger crest. The wave is the ocean in expression. Inseparable, indivisible. Of one substance and one life, the wave cannot be cut from the sea without ceasing to be itself. It does not plead with the ocean to come near. It rests in the fact that the ocean is its very being. It does not carry its own supply. It is sustained by the infinity that gives it form. And when it falls back, it does not die. It returns visibly to what it never left in truth. So are you. So am I. In him we live and move and have our being. If this were sentiment, it would be of little use, but it is physics of spirit, law of being, identity not earned, not awarded, not revoked. From this premise follow all the implications of healing work without strain. If I am a wave apart, I must gather a mind, an energy, a love sufficient to meet the day. I must hoard ideas, techniques, and quotes, as a squirrel gathers nuts against winter. But if I am an expression of the one, then all that the source is mind, life, love flows as me by its own nature. All things that the Father hath are mine, said the Master. And the Father, in that old story of the two sons, said, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Hear it now as identity, not as possession. This is not ownership, this is origin. Not accumulation, expression, not private property, shared being. The wave does not take, it reveals. It does not store, it radiates. It does not defend, it rests in the law of its source. Therefore, let us be rid of this double-mind religion that says there is God's mind and my mind, God's life and my life, God's love and my little ration of affection. Oh, no. There is one mind, and that mind is the mind that was in Christ Jesus. And that mind is your mind and mine. As we consent to be its transparency, there is one life, and it is living itself as you're living, without consulting your fears, without first obtaining a permit from the calendar or the body. There is one love, and it loves as you, through you, for you, until the neighbor is no longer strange and the enemy dissolves for lack of a belief to sustain him. The clamor of a separate me, managing a separate life, is the noise that drowns the still, small voice. The simple beholding that says, Father, I am thy wave, be thyself as me, is the hush that lets the ocean swell. You will notice what happens to fear at this point. Fear borrows its authority from separation. It says to the wave, you are alone. The tide is going out. The wind is against you. Your little ark of water will drain away. But when wave knows ocean, lack loses its law. What can the calendar decree over infinity? What tax can scarcity levy on omnipresence? What ultimatum can a symptom deliver to that life which is life unto itself? No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, not because you are clever with words, but because there is no place in the one where a second power can lodge. The form may ruffle, the deep does not. The surface may show weather, the depth abides. Healing work begins right here in identity. Before a word is spoken, before a hand is moved, the fear that would set us scrambling is unmasked as a ghost, lacking substance when the light is felt. Now, some will ask, but am I not presuming, saying all that the Father hath is mine? Not if you say it as a wave speaks for the ocean. We are not declaring possession, we are admitting relation. We are not claiming powers, we are consenting to transparency. This is the purest humility. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. To grub for personal authority is arrogance. To stand aside that the one may be all is worship, and worship becomes demonstration as surely as sunrise becomes light. When the call comes and you turn within, you are not conjuring a deity. You are remembering being. You are not recruiting help. You are returning to identity. Then words, if required, are given you in that hour. Actions, if necessary, are ordered without fret. Silence itself becomes an instrument, and peace says to the waters, be still, not as a command chopped out by will, but as the natural emanation of depth. So practice this remembrance gently and often, without strain and without superstition. In the marketplace, in the kitchen, at the bedside, let there be a soft concession within, Father, I am thy wave. Be thyself as my seeing, as my speaking, as my moving, as my resting. Let mind think where I had worried. Let life quicken where I had feared. Let love do what I could not. If you prefer other words, whisper, I and my Father are one, and allow the sentence to complete itself as feeling rather than argument. Or say quietly, all that the Father hath is mine, and add in your heart, not as mine to own, but as thine to express. Then go about your affairs without taking thought, without rehearsing the line, without peeking to see if it is working. The ocean does not glance aside to admire its wave. It simply flows. In time, and grace has its own good time, you will discover that identity precedes practice and empowers it. You will find that the 3 steps we have named acknowledge, listen, release, ripen, because the acknowledger is no longer a separated self bargaining for outcomes, but a transparency consenting to let what is be seen, be heard, be felt, and when the night is thick or the report is harsh, you will be steadied by this quiet knowledge. I cannot fall out of God any more than a wave can fall out of the sea. I can only forget and then remember. Tonight we remember. Tonight, not as poetry, but as our own name, we receive the Master's word. I and my Father are one. And in the receiving, we are equipped not with methods, but with being for the works that the Father within will do. Now, because identity has been set as our foundation, we may give ourselves a simple practice for tonight, a way of consenting, not striving, of yielding, not engineering, of letting the Father within do the works without our interference. It is 3 inward moves. Do not make a ritual of them. Do not count words or cultivate solemn faces. Simply consent to them as you would consent to breathe fresh air after a closed room. Acknowledge, listen, release, and then rest. First, acknowledge, quietly, without display and without hurry. Admit the truth that ends fear at its root. I of mine own self can do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Say it not as a slogan pressed against a problem, but as a returning to fact. You are not resigning from responsibility. You are resigning from the illusion of a separate self that must solve, heal, provide, impress. The moment you admit this, you have shifted the government from your shoulder to his. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Sit, if you can, with feet steady and hands quiet, and let that sentence become atmosphere. If other words come naturally, I and my Father are one, or thy grace is sufficient for me, let them breathe once or twice and then subside. We are not here to persuade God. We are here to cease resisting the God who already is. For about 3 minutes, oh, it may be less, it may be more, let acknowledgement wash away the personal sense of I. See if you do not feel somewhere beneath thought a settling, as when a jar of troubled water lets its silt drift down and clarity return. Second, listen in silence. Take no thought. This is not a command to be thoughtless. It is permission to stop rehearsing the fear, the need, the hoped-for outcome. Set down the mental photographs. We are not sketching cures. We are not composing speeches to deliver to God. We are being still and knowing. Be still and know that I am God. In this listening, there is no bargaining, no, if thou wilt, then I will, and no scripting, no, by morning, let it be thus and so. If a phrase arises, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Let it be a door, not a distraction. If a report tries to intrude, do not fight it. Let it pass as a bird crosses a sky that the sky does not chase. Some of you will feel a deepening quiet as if the room itself had widened. Some will feel nothing at all and yet find, when you stand, that a weight has been lifted. Trust this unspectacular holiness. My sheep hear my voice, said the Master. The voice is not always words. Often it is a pressure of peace, a soft yes that needs no punctuation. Give it 2, 3 gentle minutes. If you look at a clock, you have come up to the surface again. Return kindly to the depths. Third, release and impersonalize. Having acknowledged the one and listened without thought, now we loose and let go. We do not tuck the person under our arm and try to carry them into God. We let them be where they already are. Cast all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Take the name, the faith, the fear, the verdict, yes, the entire picture, and place it inwardly upon the altar you have discovered. Whisper, if you like, the Master's final word on the cross, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit, and let that expand to, into thy hands I commend this appearing, this body, this bank account, this grief, this diagnosis, this interview, this journey. We are not throwing away responsibility. We are removing the mask of personal possession from what never was ours to engineer. Loose him and let him go, was said at the tomb of Lazarus. Tonight, you and I obey that same word. We loose the person from our private claim. We loose the condition from a separate power. We loose the outcome from our calendar, and we let it go into the one presence that alone is. Then do a simple but radical thing. Behold only presence where the issue seemed to be. Not two problem and God, but God. Not rival powers in contest, but the one life revealing itself where a picture had argued for absence. Now, as to timing, be tender. 3 minutes to acknowledge, 3 to listen, 3 to release, 9 minutes that belong to no clock and bind you to no stopwatch. Some evenings it will be briefer. At times a single breath of acknowledgement will carry you all the way through. On other nights the listening will draw you deeper, and you will discover that the sweetest work you ever did was to do nothing and let God be God. If you find yourself agitated, remember, strain is the sign you have picked up the burden again. Lay it down. This is not a raid upon heaven, It is a rest in heaven. How will you know when to conclude? Peace will tell you. Not fanfare, not fireworks, not a sudden vision of marching bands, but a subtle ease, as if the edge has softened, as if a room has been aired. That ease is the sign that the inner government has been acknowledged and that you may resume your outer steps without interference. If unrest persists, if the mind keeps fastening upon the picture or composing letters to the future, return at once, not to more words, but to step 2, listening. Remember, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Listen until the thoughts, like children at play, grow tired enough to sit down. Then release again and let go of the last thread of control. Carry this lightly through the evening, not as an assignment, but as remembrance. You will find, perhaps while washing a cup or folding a shirt, that the words rise again. I of mine own self can do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Do not labor to repeat them. Let them hum as a vibration rather than a chant. When a small anxiety knocks about tomorrow's meeting, about an unanswered message, give it a 9-breath answer. Acknowledge, listen, release. And then watch, not for results, but for your own refusal to be driven. Take therefore no thought for the morrow is not a sentence for monks only. It is instruction for those who will sleep in grace and rise in order. As you practice this, you will see how impersonal love becomes. You will notice that your thought of the one who called you shifts from a tight, possessive concern to a spacious beholding. You are not abandoning them. You are agreeing with truth about them. You are recognizing that where they seem to stand is holy ground, not a battleground. The place whereon thou standest is holy ground, was said to Moses, in a desert that looked empty to sense but was full of presence. So here, your release is not neglect, it is worship. It says, thou alone art God, there is none else. Do not be surprised if, upon concluding, you are moved to a small outward step, a text of simple kindness, a glass of water, a walk across the room. Take it without dramatics. At other times you will be moved to do nothing but rest. Take that too. The same spirit that orders galaxies can order a Tuesday without consulting your agitation. Let grace set the pace. Let gratitude be the echo. Perhaps whisper, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. Then go on your way, and if, before you sleep, another wave of fear arises, do not accuse yourself of failure. Oh, no. Smile at the humanness that forgets, and remember again, acknowledge, listen, release. These are not rungs to climb to God. They are ways of stepping aside so that God, already present, may be seen, may be heard, may be felt as the only life. Practice them tonight, not for show, not for proof, but because they are your native motion as God's wave. In that motion you will discover what the Master declared and what every saint has echoed. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing, and discovering it, you will sleep the sleep of one who has consented to let the Father within do the works. Now let us bring all of this to the place where this night will find you in your own room, at your own bed, with no witness but the one. We will not make a ceremony of it, we will make a consent of it. Before you lie down, sit at the bedside. Let the body be a simple yes. Feet on the floor if you can, spine easy rather than rigid, shoulders soft, hands open in your lap as if to say, I take nothing, I grasp nothing, I offer no resistance. Your body is not performing, it is signaling agreement. This is the outer sign of an inner truth. Be still and know that I am God. Let the stillness begin in the frame and then sink beneath the frame. Take a natural breath, do not decorate it. And now let the breath be the priest that carries your words into the temple without effort. On the exhale, very quietly within yourself, I can of mine own self do nothing. Let the breath spend itself into that sentence until the body feels its surrender. Then on the inhale, Father within, thou doest the works. Do not hurry it. Let the in-breath be not a grasping, but a receiving. Again, exhale. I can of mine own self do nothing. Inhale. Father within, thou doest the works. 3 or 4 such breaths, not to count but to settle. This is acknowledgement without strain. This is the wave resting in its sea. If the mind tries to decorate the lines, smile inwardly and return to the simple rhythm. Remember, it is not your power that heals. It is not your understanding that provides. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Now, as you breathe, you will notice the old habit of carrying pictures into prayer, the name, the face, the verdict, the story. Do not fight them, do not rehearse them. Do a humanly sensible and spiritually holy thing. Set them down. See yourself, if you like, arriving at the door of the inner sanctuary with a heavy bag in your hand labeled by fear, swollen with arguments, and simply set it to one side. You do not carry luggage into the secret place. You do not drag persons into the presence. You loose them and let them go. Whisper, if you must, loose him and let him go. Whisper for your own soul, loose it and let it go. The altar does not require your burden as a gift. The altar requires your emptiness as a willingness. When the thought returns, and it may set it down again as many times as needed, gently, without scolding. We are learning to come naked of outcomes to the one who already is all in all. Let us now have 1 minute of listening. No words, no quotes, no program. You are not thinking about God. You are letting God be God. If a sentence knocks at the door, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Let it open the door and then step back into silence. Attend, not with ears, but with the whole of your being, to the stillness under thought, the quiet that is older than your story and younger than your last breath. If noises come the street, the clock, the neighbor, let them be waves upon the surface. You are at depth. My sheep hear my voice, said the Master. Often that voice is not syllables, but a pressure of peace. If the mind races, do not chase it. Wait as you would wait for a friend you trust to round the corner. In this minute, do not work. Let. Do not ascend. Consent. Do not beg. Behold. When that minute has gentled you, complete what we began. Release inwardly with as few words as will carry truth. Commend the whole picture into God. Father, into thy hands I commend this. Good. No conditions attached, no deadlines offered, no bargaining chips on the table. You are not dismissing the world, you are surrendering its governance to the one who governs. Then seal the prayer with a sentence that gathers everything into its right center. All is within the one. Say it once simply. All this person, this body, this night, this pay, this breath within the one. Not inside a theory, but held in presence. Not 2 powers, one. Not 2 lives, one. Rest there for a breath or 2. Allow a softness to come over you like the quiet after rain. That is enough. Now lie down. Do not take the bag back up as if you had forgotten your briefcase at the door. Let gratitude be your blanket. There is a kind of thanksgiving that tries to flatter God into performance. Do not practice that. Practice the thanksgiving that recognizes what is so. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. Let it be the last conscious movement of the mind, and then give yourself to sleep as a child gives itself to a mother's arms. He giveth his beloved sleep. If a last little fear taps the shoulder, answer it with the breath that has become your teacher. Exhale. I can of mine own self do nothing. Inhale. Father within, thou doest the works. Then turn toward rest and let grace accompany you beyond the bed into the dailiness that awaits you. When in the night you rise for a sip of water, let that simple act be the same practice in miniature. Hold the cup and offer one quiet acknowledgement, all is within the one, and drink as one who drinks in God. In the morning, when you taste your first morsel, let the tongue say, without fanfare, thank you. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. These little acknowledgments thread the day with remembrance, so that practice is not a dramatic event but a living rhythm. The Comforter is not a guest who visits on schedule. The Comforter abides. You have now the shape of 5 minutes that can be tonight's obedience and tomorrow's habit. Posture of consent, breath of acknowledgement, setting down of images, 1 minute of listening, the sealing word, and the repose of gratitude. Do not measure the night by results. Measure it only by your refusal to take back what you have given to God. Take no thought for the morrow. The Father within doeth the works. We have not manufactured anything. We have stepped aside that reality might be seen where unreality shouted. This is how a beginner begins healing work. Tonight, quietly, honestly, gladly turning within, consenting to oneness, and letting grace make of 5 minutes a door into the holy that never closes. Lo, I am with you always, and because he is, we rest. Now comes the courage test, and it is simple enough to fit on the back of your hand. Never refuse a call. From this night on, every appeal message, glance, whisper, headline, a child tugging the sleeve, a stranger weeping in the market, is not a demand upon your human capacity. It is a bell summoning you to the sanctuary within. We are not being drafted into fixing, and we are not being conscripted into advice. Oh no, we are being invited to behold. Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me. When a call comes, we do not add noise to the world. We enter the hush where reality is already complete, and we let the Father within do the works. Let me frame it as a protocol you can obey before thought has time to organize its panic. At point of contact within 90 seconds and right where you are, make the 3 moves. First, receive. Take in what is given without fear and without rehearsal. Do not clutch the picture. Hear the words as one who sits beneath the fig tree where Nathanael was seen, and be unafraid. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. If the voice is trembling on the phone, if the text pings with urgency, if the eyes pleading across the table seem to drag you into their vortex, take one quiet breath and let their report rest in the presence that is present. You are not contracting for a result. You are consenting to transparency. Second, turn while they speak, or as the text glows on the screen, turn within silently, unannounced, and acknowledge the only government there is. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Or simply, I and my Father are one. One inward bow, no theatrics, no delay, and the burden rolls from your shoulder to his. If you are in a crowded room and cannot step aside, you can still turn. The sanctuary is not down the hall, it is within you. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Third, witness. Behold wholeness without trying to paint it. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. In that instant, visit no incantation upon the person. Do not place your hands upon their image in your mind to push it into shape. Behold God where they appear. Let the sentence we have sealed in practice rise as a seeing rather than a saying. All is within the one. Here, where a report argued for absence, you quietly, inwardly, without any show, consent to presence as the only fact. Stay for a breath or two until peace nods to you. That is enough to begin. You can return to it again and again in the next hour, but you have set the government right. Then speak outwardly with kindness, brevity, and truth. I am with you, you may say. I will keep you in prayer, holding you in God's presence. Do not promise outcomes. Do not assign times. Do not offer bargains with heaven. Promise fidelity of remembrance, and then keep it. Let your communication be, yea, yea. If the one calling hopes you will take charge of their tomorrow, gently decline that throne. We are not managers of destiny. We are witnesses of God. If they press for instruction, you may say, just now, let us rest in, be still, and know that I am God. I will remember you in this stillness. And then do it. Now, as to boundaries, hear me well. Fidelity often wears the face of restraint. You may pause the logistics. You do not pause the inner response. If the call comes while you are driving, do not text. The 90 seconds still belong to God. Acknowledge, listen, witness, hands on the wheel, heart in the sanctuary. If you are in a meeting and cannot speak, you can still turn invisibly and place the matter upon the altar within. Later, you will return the call, arrange the visit, or decline the coffee, guided not by guilt, but by the easy pressure of peace. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Light burdens are carried in God's time, not in the schedule of panic. There is also an ethic to this work, and it is love clothed in wisdom. Respect confidentiality. Keep names off your lips and on the altar. Let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. If someone entrusts you with their grief, do not make it your anecdote. Respect agency. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Do not pressure souls to adopt your way. Do not meddle with their practical care. If they must see a doctor, or call an ambulance, or take counsel of a parent, bless the step and keep your station. Presence, not pressure. Render unto all that is due courtesy, time, a ride to the clinic without pretending that your errands are the healing. Our work is to behold God, where sense testimony argues for a second power. Our errands are merely kindness given form. You will find that never refuse a call includes those you would rather delete from your contacts, the antagonist who misread you, the official who denied your request, the neighbor whose dog has dug again. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, is not an ornament, it is a method. If their name crosses your path, receive, turn, witness, no sermon to them, no pressure upon yourself. Behold the one where two seem to be. Release the picture and rest a moment in the sea that makes us all waves of one water. Often, by the time you must speak, your voice will already have been tuned by peace. And never refuse a call includes your own inner cry. When your heart knocks at your own door at 2 a.m, do not scold yourself for need. You are not less of a practitioner because you are also human. Receive the ache without drama. Turn farther within, thou doest the works. Witness, behold your life inside, the life that cannot lack itself. Then rest, he restoreth my soul. Let me give you a small practice that will keep this alive under pressure. Consecrate the first 90 seconds of every appeal to God. Make it a law unto your own heart. Before I craft a reply, before I search the web, before I call a committee, I return to the 3 moves: receive, turn, witness. If you will do that, you will discover what Peter discovered at the gate called beautiful. Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. And what do we have? Not formulas, not daring talk, not thunder, but the awareness of the presence that, when beheld, reveals itself as safety, supply, intelligence, order, wholeness. That is what we give. We give God by getting out of God's way. Remember also the old economies that taught us to send telegrams to faraway practitioners at every tremor. The day is passing when you can count on that. Not that help is wrong, oh no. Receive help as love when it comes, but constant dependence upon another's light is a denial of the light within you. Develop it now by obedience to the simple courage test. Answer every bell inwardly. If after that you are led to call someone to ask for their remembrance, do so without self-reproach. But let your first instinct be toward the Comforter who abides, not toward a tower with lights and sirens. From this hour, then, we take up a quiet vow. Never refuse a call. We will answer it inwardly, at once acknowledging presence, listening without fear, witnessing wholeness without words to the person, and then we will speak outwardly with kindness. Keep confidence as holy, honor liberty as grace, and let practical love be guided by peace. Lo, I am with you always is our assurance and our method, and because he is, we can dare to receive, to turn, to witness, and to rest, even while the world is making noise at the door. Now we practice, not tomorrow, not when you feel holy, not when your desk is clean. Now, for it is in rehearsal that a skill becomes reflex. And it is reflex we seek, not the reflex of panic, but the reflex of presence. Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only. Let us move through three simple scenes that life is sure to send tonight, perhaps. We will keep them humble, because the holy moves simply. First, the evening anxiety text. Your device vibrates and the message reads, I can't stop worrying. Feel the old impulse rise to counsel, to fix, to type a paragraph of advice. We do not scold that impulse. We simply refuse it, the throne. At once, inwardly acknowledge, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Let that sentence be a sore bow of the heart. Then listen. Take one unhurried breath and be still, and know that I am God. No bargaining, no phrasing, a cure. Just 1 minute, yes, 1 minute if you can, of interior quiet. Then release, see this, dear one, not as a bundle of nerves to be managed, but as already within the one. Whisper inwardly, Father, into thy hands I commend this, and let the imagined picture of their fear dissolve into the sea of presence. Now reply with the lightest touch, free of pressure and pretense. I'm with you in quiet. Let's take a minute of silence. Send it. Put the device down. Keep your minute. Do not stare at the screen. Behold God. If, after that minute, a simple phrase is given, you may send. All is within the one. I'll remember you through the evening. No lecture, no timeline. Let your communication be, yea, yea. Debrief in your own heart. Did peace rise? Did urgency drop? Did kinder options appear? If they text again with more agitation, repeat the same holy economy, receive, turn, witness, then answer with simplicity. You are not manufacturing a result. You are consenting to the Father within to do the works. Second, the household conflict. A tone hardens at the table. A word lands sharp. An old grievance cracks open its ribs. Sense testimony shouts. Defend yourself. Oh no. Rise quietly and say, I'm going to get a glass of water, and walk to the kitchen sink, not as escape, but as entrance into the sanctuary. Turn on the tap and let the water run as your cue to acknowledge, listen, release. While the stream pours, acknowledge, I and my Father are one. Right here, not later, not after you win an argument. Then listen. Let the sound of the water be the hush that drowns the chorus of rebuttal. 1, 2, 3 breaths into silence. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Then release. See the whole scene, faces, tones, the warped board of an old story placed upon the altar. Loose him and let him go. Loose your need to be right, loose their need to be different. Loose the timetable for harmony, all within the one. Close the tap. Return to the room with softened presence in place of sharpened words. You may say only, I'm here, or perhaps, let's pause a moment. Or you may say nothing and let your presence speak what your voice once tried to force. Debrief within. Did the interior hurricane calm? Did the edge soften? Did a kinder path show itself a walk together? A postponement of the topic? A hand on a shoulder? Remember, we are not making nice, we are making room for grace. A soft answer turneth away wrath. And if the waves rise again, return to the sink, even if only in your heart. The sanctuary is not plumbed to the kitchen, it is plumbed to your being. Third, the financial fear email. You open your inbox and see the subject line, urgent bill due, I'm scared. You feel the pull to calculate, to argue with numbers, to promise rescue. Stop, read once, only once. Then close your eyes if you can, or lower them if you must remain at your desk. Acknowledge, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Consent to presence as the only government, even over columns and due dates. Listen, allow the figures to recede into the background as you stand a moment in the foreground of God. No designing, no mental math. Then release. Place the invoice, the timeline, the dread yes, the entire ledger into the one. Cast all your care upon him, for he careth for you. See the many become one, the tangle become a surface of quiet water. Only after this do you answer, and answer in two motions. One practical step that kindness suggests. Call the office in the morning and ask for a payment plan. Or let's look together at your budget on Thursday. And one promise of remembrance rooted in presence. I'll keep you in prayerful remembrance today. That is all. Do not prophesy outcomes. Do not place God on a timetable. Sufficient unto the day is the grace thereof. Debrief. Did urgency lose its siren? Did a simple, doable kindness present itself without strain? Did you feel the inner witness nod before you typed? If so, you have practiced rightly. You have let the Father within go before you. If a call should come by voice instead of text, you may begin with a greeting that is both gentle and directive. Thank you for reaching out. Let's pause for a breath together. Then keep the pause. 5 seconds of shared, quiet, 5 seconds of sanctuary on an open line. In those 5 seconds, you have already obeyed the protocol. Receive, turn, witness without a sermon. You have given what Peter gave at the gate called beautiful, such as I have give I thee, which is not coin or commentary, but presence. Often, by the time you speak again, your tone will have been tuned by peace rather than tightened by pressure. Now, why do we rehearse? Because the world is swift with its flares, and you must be swifter with your surrender. Training trims delay. Soldiers drill so that under fire, their hands find the motion without debate. We drill not for force, but for release, not for domination, but for consent. Tonight, I ask you to practice these 3 scenarios twice, even without a live request. Imagine the text, see the words, I can't stop worrying, and move through, acknowledge, listen, release. Then type the simple line and place the device down for your minute. Imagine the kitchen scene, hear the tone that kindles argument, walk yourself to the sink in your own mind, let the water of silence run, and come back with softened presence. Imagine the email glimpse, the due date, and the dread, read it once, close the inner eyes, surrender the ledger, then send one practical kindness and one promise of prayerful remembrance in your thought. Do it now in imagination, and then do it again before sleep. In doing so, you set the grooves along which grace will run when the hour arrives. As you complete each rehearsal, ask yourself gently, did peace rise? Did urgency drop? Did kinder options appear? If the answer seems to be no, rejoice that you are discovering where your old reflex still claims squatter's rights. Return at once to step 2, listening, and stay a moment longer. Remember, my sheep hear my voice, and the voice often sounds like ease. If you caught even a flicker of ease, a softening at the edge, you have enough to proceed. Do not measure by fireworks. Measure by the quiet that remains when the sparks have no fuel. You will find, as you practice, that the roles matter less than the one actor behind them. Text, table, inbox, these are surfaces. Beneath them is the ocean into which every wave returns. I and my Father are one, and because this is so, the same presence meets every picture. Let that identity be the subtext of your drill. You are not a separate problem solver. You are an opening through which the one beholds itself. That is why you can refuse nothing and force nothing. That is why you need not fear the next message, the next raised voice, the next invoice. Take no thought for your life, said the Master. And in this he taught a practice, not a negligence. We are not absent from our world. We are present to God in the midst of it. So let us place these 3 scenes like smooth stones in a pouch at your side. When Goliath strides out with armor of statistics or garments of anger, you will not reach for a sword you do not own. You will draw forth a remembered motion, acknowledge, listen, release, and you will discover again that the battle is the Lord's. And when later you lay your head upon the pillow, run the drill once more in silence. Not to prove anything, but to dissolve the last threads of private governance. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. This is rehearsal unto reflex. This is practice unto peace. And in this way a beginner begins healing work tonight and continues tomorrow, not by might, not by pride, but by the presence that forever goes before. Now we carry this from the practice hall into the hallway, from the bedside into the breakfast table, into the inbox and the crosswalk and the store. For the Master did not speak a Sabbath-only word. He gave an order for life. Take no thought for your life, but seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Hear it not as poetry, but as method. Take no thought is not neglect, it is sequence. First the kingdom, then the things. First awareness, then action. First presence, then provision. In that order, we live by grace. Let us make this simple and livable, because truth that cannot be practiced before noon is not yet truth to us. Begin with doorway pauses. Every threshold you cross, bedroom to hall, house to street, office to meeting, make the jam a teacher. As your hand touches the frame, let there be one inward nod. I and my Father are one. That is all. No performance, no length. Just the government rightly set before you. Enter. You will be amazed how a room that would have argued becomes a room where argument cannot find you. At the sink, between dishes, whisper without lips, all is within the one. At your desk, before you press send, let one breath carry. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. We are not piling tasks upon tasks. We are braiding the day with acknowledgments until the day is being lived by another in us. Gratitude with each morsel is more than manners, it is method. When you lift the cup or taste the crust, do not flatter God for the bakery. Recognize God as the bread behind bread. Give us this day our daily bread is answered within the one. Let the tongue say very softly, Thank you. And let the mind mean by that word, thou art the life of this life. These little thanks stitch the hours with remembrance. Between appointments, step not into your next exertion, but into 1 second of stillness. 1 second is enough to say within, be still and know that I am God. Then go. You will find the 10,000 tiny acknowledgments require less time than 1 hour of worry, and they purchase a lightness the world cannot sell. Supply to spiritual consciousness is not a storehouse to be filled. Supply is flow. The wave does not carry its own reservoir. It trusts the ocean to rise beneath it when needed, to recede when stillness serves. All that the Father hath is mine, not by hoarding, but by oneness. He that gathered much had nothing over, and he that had gathered little had no lack. So take your hands off the clock that tries to count out coins and call that counting safety. Givers led no crusade, no guilt, and receivers sent no pride, no apology. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. You will see it in humble ways, a tool found when it was needed, an idea arriving within the hour, a friend calling with exactly the contact. Do not make a trophy of such moments. Do not count loaves like a miser. Nod heavenward. Father, I thank thee, and return to the rhythm of flow. Now, as to the myths of time and age, the calendar cannot decree your vitality. Oh, no. Bless the Lord, who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. As thy days, so shall thy strength be. Let the day be paced by inner peace rather than by the metronome of anxiety. If the list is long, do not speed. Become still. My times are in thy hand. You will discover a strange arithmetic. 5 minutes of acknowledgement lengthens the hour by removing the grit of fear. The mind that believed energy was a battery to be drained will begin to know energy as a river to be entered. Walk slower if you must. Speak gentler because you can. Refuse the superstition that certain digits on a birthday imply decay, or that the clock's face is your master. God gave you dominion. Do not sell it to a calendar. Decision-making, too, must bow to order. Listen first. Decide after. The world shouts, choose now or lose. Spirit whispers, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. In practice, this means that before you buy, before you sign, before you agree or decline, give the matter one inward placement upon the altar. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Sometimes the answer will come as a pressure of ease, go this way. Sometimes as a quiet catch, wait. You will learn the feel of righteous judgment. Send the email tomorrow. Take the train instead of the highway. Say no to the fourth outing of the week and yes to the hour of silence you would have traded away. Let the Comforter schedule the soul. You are not becoming passive. You are ceasing to be panicked. You are not abdicating care. You are letting care be governed by the only governor. And watch, oh, watch for the witnesses of grace, not as evidence to impress, but as reassurance to the child that still lives in you. The call answered on the first ring by the one person who could help, the line that moved faster than lines move, the expense that shrank by half without your argument, the thought that rose before you reached for your book, the sentence you needed in the scripture you opened by chance, fear thou not, for I am with thee. These are not prizes, they are footprints. Do not run after them to frame them. Walk on with thanksgiving. Rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. Keep a quiet ledger. If you like, no boasting. No hashtags, only a remembrance that presence, when sought first, orders all things sweetly. Take no thought a rhythm. In the morning, before the calendar opens its mouth, open yours to say, Father, thy will be done. At midday, when the heart would borrow tomorrow's trouble, answer with, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, and return to presence. In the evening, when sums would tally themselves into dread, lay the ledger down and whisper, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Seek first, always first, the awareness of God, and you will find that all these things, the phone calls, the meals, the shelter, the wisdom for words, are added, not manufactured. This is living by grace. This is how we walk through a market, sit at a desk, drive a road, hold a child, not by might, not by our clever schedules, but by the Spirit that quietly goes before, opens a way, and whispers, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And because this is so, you may rest even while you move. You may be carried even while you carry. You may be kept even in the keeping of others. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, not because I have chased them down, but because I have turned within and let the Father within do the works. Now, in the doing of this day upon day, without advertisement and without trumpet, there comes a change. It does not arrive with fireworks. It arrives as a lessening of strain. At first, you will remember often because you forget often, and you will return to silence because the world keeps borrowing your attention. You will make many acknowledgments because you need many reminders. Be still and know that I am God will be on your lips in the morning and again before the second cup is poured. I and my Father are one will anchor a meeting and then be needed again at the red light. Oh yes, at the outset it is deliberate, frequent, sometimes seemingly mechanical, and that is holy. We are training the mind to stand aside, the heart to yield, the attention to recognize what was always here. This is not pretense, it is planting. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. There comes, after months if needed, 6 months, 12 of gentle discipline, a point I have called transition, when you discover that what you had been saying in faith begins to speak itself in you, not your voice now, not a private echo, but something of a different order. Truth begins to utter itself. How do you know? The signs are quiet but unmistakable. Peace comes before you call for it. You find yourself entering a room with a sense not of bracing, but of being carried, and the old need to prepare an argument or rehearse a prayer has no hook in you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, is no longer a sentence you borrow, it is a current you recognize. Timing becomes uncanny without being dramatic. An email is delayed without your contriving, and by the time you send it, the need beneath it has rearranged. A word you did not plan rises to your tongue exactly when another's heart had room to receive it. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. You will see outcomes without management, blessing by displacement rather than by push. Something you would have tried to hold together simply holds. Something you would have tried to repair is found unbroken when seen aright. At such moments, let your correction be instant and unembarrassed. Oh no, not I, but the presence within. Say it to yourself as you would retrieve a child from the middle of the road. Bring the mind off its little platform where it would bow for applause. I can of mine own self do nothing, the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works. If you will return at once to humility, you will not fall into the two oldest detours that haunt this way, pride in results and superstition in methods. Pride says, see what my consciousness has achieved. Superstition says, it was that fourth breath, that exact sentence, that chair in the corner. Oh no. The wave does not congratulate itself on shape. nor does it retain a patent on the pattern it wore at noon. It consents to be oceaned. Methods are scaffolding, results are footprints, presence alone is the house. You will notice also a change in your speech. Where once you reached for phrases, something in you will wait the extra beat until the sentence you did not craft forms itself. Take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Not a trance, not an exterior voice, not a seizure, do not make a theater of it, but a rightness of word and placement, a quality of utterance that has no strain in it. You will hear yourself say, "Let us be still a moment," and the room complies in a way it never did when you said it as advice. You will hear yourself quietly decline a request that would have entangled you and feel no gilt-blade twist inside. You will find your hand going to the phone at an hour that seemed random and hearing, "I was just about to call you," and you will know that it was not telepathy or luck, it was love's timing. Now mind you, do not chase this. Do not try to force the river to declare itself as a waterfall. If a day comes when your words seem wooden, your timing clumsy, your peace delayed, rejoice that you have been shown what to do. Return to listening. The path forward is the path backward, back into the hush, back into be still, back into speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Make no idols of your yesterdays. Yesterday you were led to put your hand upon a shoulder. Today you may be led to keep your hands folded. Yesterday a verse of the Psalms rose like a banner. Today the only true word may be silence. Keep mobility in God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from bragging, liberty from blueprint. And because we are still children in this, expect a season of weaning. The props you leaned upon, even spiritual ones, may be withdrawn. A favorite phrase loses its taste on your tongue. The chair where you always sat for meditation no longer seems the doorway. The 90 seconds you sanctified as a rule do not satisfy if they are only 90 seconds of clock and not of consent. Let it go. If I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you. The going away is the dissolving of reliance upon our own regimen so that reliance may ripen into recognition. The Comforter does not inhabit our technique. The Comforter abides within our being and makes use of a technique when it serves and drops it when it doesn't. Patience, then. Patience with your mornings that seem dull. Patience with your afternoons that seem too quick for remembrance. Patience with your nights when the old fret walks the floor. Keep to your little obediences. Acknowledge, listen, release. Keep the thanksgiving at the cup and the crust. Keep the doorway pauses. Keep take no thought as order, not as ornament. In doing so, you are laying kindling. The fire lights when it lights, and when it does, you will know, because warmth, not smoke, fills the room. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Do not hurry the egg. Do not tap the shell from the outside. Let the life inside quicken in its hour. When the transition settles, not as a single event, but as an atmosphere, you will find that much of your practice has moved from effort to reflex, from sound to seeing. You will awake already aware. You will cross a threshold already bowed. You will hear a need without losing the chord of presence beneath it. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Following will feel less like choice and more like consent. Service will feel less like task and more like being carried to the place already prepared. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters, and in this the smallest acts become sacraments. A quiet yes, an honest no, a hand withheld because love said, not now. A step taken because love went first. This is not the end of practice. This is the end of practicing as if God were absent. Truth utters itself, and our part is to keep the hall clear, the lamp trimmed, the door on the latch ready. Then when the knock comes, we need not run about to find our keys. We open, and the one who knocks is the one who enters, and the one who sits with us at table is the one who feeds, and we can say with a simplicity that has no pride in it, not I, but Christ liveth in me. And now, beloved, before we part, let us be together in the way that cannot be photographed, the stillness in which we lay all upon the altar and know that God alone is the life of all life. Let us grow quiet. We have spoken enough to train the mind. Now we will be still to free the heart. Be still and know that I am God. Take one gentle breath, not to manipulate air, but to acknowledge presence. And in that inward nod, let each of us place before the invisible every treasure and every terror, every fear and every hope, every plan and every pain. We do this not as renunciation of good, oh no, but as recognition of source. Together, in silence, we loose and let go, health, supply, relationships, placing all in God. Hear the gospel word over Lazarus. Loose him and let him go. Loose and let go. Not into chance, not into delay, but into the one that is our very being. If there is a diagnosis that has sat like a stone in your chest, place it upon the altar. If there is a ledger or a bill that has rattled the cup of your peace, place it upon the altar. If there is a name that still hurts when it passes through your thought, place it upon the altar. We are not discarding, we are surrendering. Cast all your care upon him, for he careth for you. And now, softly, together, in your own hearts, say with me this simple surrender, not as a charm, but as truth. Here, Father, thou take all the health, all the wealth, all the work, let it be thine expressing. Say it again, if you like, until the words are not yours only, but become the prayer that prays itself. Here, Father, thou take all the health, all the wealth, all the work, let it be thine expressing. We return the government to its rightful governor. I can of mine own self do nothing, and we ask nothing less than everything of the Father within, for the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Hold this quiet a moment longer. Allow faces to arise, unbidden, the anxious, the ailing, the angry, the far away, the near, the ones you love easily and the ones you cannot seem to love at all. Do not send them words. Do not project sentences. Do not attempt to mend a single story in imagination. Merely know presence where they are. Let the light that is God be God to them without your embroidery. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Know that sentence without moving your lips, and let it be their pasture and yours. Extend this benediction outward until it is no longer outward, until it is simply the sea being itself and the waves resting in their oneness with it. Now, as we open our eyes or simply lift them within, let us seal our courage with a vow, not bravado, not pressure, but obedience to love's protocol. From this moment on, never refuse a call. Hear that in the right key. Never refuse a call to turn within. If a human call comes, we receive it gently. If no call comes, the vow still stands because the world is full of silent reaching. Our vow is this. At once we acknowledge, we listen, we release, we answer within kindly now. We do not promise outcomes. We do not set deadlines for God. We promise presence. Take no thought, for your life is not retreat, it is order. First the kingdom, then the word, then the act. And the act is simple because the burden is not ours, for the battle is the Lord's. Let us for a moment make this vow audible in the secret place of the heart. Father, when a call appears, I will never refuse it. I will turn within at once. I will acknowledge thy presence. I will listen in silence. I will release all outcome to thee. I will be kind outwardly and quiet inwardly, that thou mayest do thy works And because spirit must have feet and prayer must have a place to land, let us be very plain about tonight, before sleep, 2 obediences. First, 1 bedside practice, 5 minutes only, if that is what you have of the 3 steps we have loved. Acknowledge, listen, release, sit or stand or kneel as you are led. Begin with, I and my Father are one. Let the room grow large with silence, close with thanksgiving that does not beg. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. Second, 1 role play drill. Choose any of the 3 we rehearsed. An anxious text, a household sting, a financial fear, or invent the one life is likely to send you. Walk it through. Read once. Turn within. Acknowledge, listen, release, and answer in the simplest kindness. Do not force feeling. Do not grade yourself. You are setting the grooves along which grace will run. If you wake in the night, take 1 breath and rest again, and my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. We go out from this hour as waves that finally know the ocean, not as separate agents trying to push results across the surface. All that the Father hath is mine, not by clutching, but by oneness. And so our health is God's health expressed. Our supply is God's flow expressed. Our relationships are God's love recognized. Let us lay down every private claim to make room for every divine right. If tomorrow some corner of the mind would say, you are not ready, answer it with the truth. Oh no, I am not the doer. The Father within me doeth the works. If some urgency would demand a speech, give instead a space. And in that space the Word will choose whether to speak. Before we part, let us return once more to gratitude, the key that opens no door because it finds there are no locks. Father, we thank Thee. The work is Thine, the peace is Thine, the life is Thine, and we rest in Thee. We thank Thee that this gathering is not a meeting on a calendar, but a recognition of what is always true. Lo, I am with you always. We thank Thee that we can begin tonight, not by might, not by scheme, but by a quiet consent that lets Thy grace order our hours. And we thank Thee that as we go together, though we may be alone in our rooms, one consciousness, learning to behold what the senses miss. Now may the blessing that needs no sentence accompany you to your door and beyond your door. May the vow keep its own promise within you when a call appears. May the little obediences find you faithful and free. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, not because we chase them, but because we have turned within and found the shepherd at the gate. Rest then. Do your bedside practice, make your 1 drill, and sleep under the word that cannot lie. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Amen.